Namaste, welcome to Pythagoras Academy. This is Vikram Dachepally. In this video, I am going to discuss the concept of collision in physics. Because in general, the word collision gives us an impression of two bodies crashing into each other. As far as physics is concerned, collision is a process in which two bodies exchange their momentum and energy. In fact, two bodies need not touch each other for the collision to happen. I am going to give you one such example where two bodies do not touch each other, yet they manage to exchange their momentum and energy. Let us dive into the example. Take two bodies M1 and M2 on a smooth horizontal floor. There is no friction. A spring of spring constant K is attached to the block M2. The speed of M1 is U1 and the speed of M2 is U2. As shown in the figure, U1 is greater than U2. So let us take a number line to understand this easily. So this is a number line. U1 is somewhere here above U2. Magnitude wise, U1 is greater than U2. Because U1 is greater than U2, the distance of separation between M1 and M2 will certainly decrease. So as the distance decreases, we are going to arrive at stage 1 where M1 hits the spring. This is the moment from where the actual process of collision begins. Because next instant, as the distance between M1 and M2 decreases, the spring gets compressed. Let me say the compression in the spring is X. And as the spring gets compressed, spring starts pushing from two ends. The spring force is a pushing force as it gets compressed. So on M2, the spring force is acting in the rightward direction. On M1, the spring force is acting in the leftward direction, as the spring wants to get back to its natural length. If you observe the force on M2, it is in the same direction of its velocity. So the velocity of M2 will increase. Let me say the increased velocity is V2, which is greater than U2. And on M1, the spring force is opposite to its velocity. So velocity of M1 decreases to V1 from U1. On the number line, so U1 has decreased to V1 and U2 has increased to V2, but still V1 is greater than V2. You can see on the number line, still V1 is above V2. As long as V1 is greater than V2, the distance of separation between the blocks decreases. Then that leads to stage 3, where both the blocks attain a common velocity. So the velocity of M1 is decreasing, velocity of M2 is increasing. So there comes a stage where both the blocks attain common velocity V. I call that stage 3. The velocity of M1 is V, right? Of M2 also it is V, right? Next instant, the spring forces will act as shown. The speed of M2 goes beyond V, whereas speed of M1 goes below V. I call it V2 dash and V1 dash. Evidently, V2 dash is greater than V1 dash. Till stage 3, until stage 3, the distance of separation between M1 and M2 has decreased. After stage 3, the distance of separation between M1 and M2 is only increasing because speed of M2 is greater than speed of M1 after stage 3. So the spring got compressed till stage 3, and after stage 3, the spring is going back to its natural length. I can say that stage 3 is that position where there is maximum compression of the spring. It's a very interesting thing to note that the maximum compression of the spring happens when both the blocks attain common velocity. Next instant, the blocks get separated, the distance of separation is increasing. Eventually, M1 gets separated from M2. Let the final velocities be V2 dash, double dash, and V1 double dash. Certainly, V2 double dash is more than V1 double dash. The distance of separation goes on increasing, and M1 and M2 will never meet. The collision process is completed from stage 1 to stage 5. It started at stage 1, ended at stage 5. In this entire process, on the system of M1 plus M2 plus spring, there is no net external force acting. So because there is no net external force acting on the system, I can always apply conservation of linear momentum. This is the condition for applying conservation of linear momentum. Net external force is 0 by conservation of linear momentum at every stage. In fact, at every stage I can apply conservation of linear momentum. Total momentum of the blocks plus spring system remains conserved or constant. So stage 1, the total momentum of the system is m1 u1 plus m2 u2. That is equal to total momentum in stage 2, that is m1 v1 plus m2 v2. That is equal to momentum in stage 3, m3 v3, that is m1 v plus m2 v, that is m1 plus m2 into v, which is equal to total momentum in stage 4, that is m1 v1 dash plus m2 v2 dash. That is equal to total momentum in the final stage, that is m1 v1 double dash plus m2 v2 double dash. So this is the expression of mathematical expression of conservation of linear momentum. And work is done only by spring force. There are three types of forces acting on the system: weights of m1 and m2 downward, and normal force on m1 and m2 upward, and of course there is spring force. Work done by weights is 0 because weights are perpendicular to displacement. Work done by normal forces is also 0 because they are perpendicular to the displacement of the blocks. So work is done only by the spring force in this particular system, and the spring force is conservative in nature. When work is done only by conservative forces in a system, we can always apply conservation of mechanical energy. The mechanical energy is conserved. So the kinetic energy is converted to spring potential energy, again spring potential energy is converted to kinetic energy. So by conservation of mechanical energy at every step, I use the shortcut COME for conservation of mechanical energy. So COLM is conservation of linear momentum, COME is conservation of mechanical energy. Stage 1, the mechanical energy is only kinetic energy, half m1 u1 square plus half m2 u2 square. That is equal to stage 2, that is half m1 v1 square plus half m2 v2 square plus there is spring potential energy half kx square. Part of kinetic energy is converted to spring potential energy. That is equal to stage 3 half m1 plus m2 into v square, common velocity, plus there is maximum spring potential energy half k x max square. That is equal to, so I am applying equality here. Stage 4, it is half m1 v1 dash square plus half m2 v2 dash square plus half k. So the compression starts decreasing from stage 3. The compression is x dash, which is less than x max. So there is some spring potential energy that is equal to finally half m1 v1 double dash square plus half m2 v2 double dash square. This is conservation of mechanical energy on the system. So part of kinetic energy is converted to spring potential energy. Stage 3, there is maximum spring potential energy. Again, spring is getting back to its natural length. Spring potential energy is being given back to the blocks. Finally, the entire spring potential energy is given back to the blocks. Final energy is purely kinetic energy. So this is the process of collision. In any practical collision, two bodies may even touch. There will be collisive forces acting. For example, two bodies literally crashed into each other. They get deformed because of the collision forces. So part of kinetic energy is converted to deformational energy, like the spring potential energy in this case. But the bodies need not be perfectly elastic. They may not come back to their original shape 100%. Part of energy is permanently lost in the process of collision. So a practical collision may stop at stage 4. So they are undergoing collision process. Part of kinetic energy is converted to deformational energy. There is maximum deformational energy, and part of deformational energy is given back to the blocks, but 100% is not given back. The collision process stops at stage 4. That practical collision is known as inelastic collision. So there is definitely some amount of energy lost in deformation. Or the collision may stop at stage 3. There is maximum deformation and the deformation is permanent. Two bodies move together with common velocity. For example, a bullet hitting a wooden block, it pierces into the wooden block, and both wooden block plus bullet move together. So that is a perfectly inelastic collision. We call it perfectly inelastic collision, where the energy loss is maximum and the deformation is permanent. And there is no separation of bodies after collision. That is known as perfectly inelastic collision if the collision stops at stage 3. If the collision stops at stage 4, it is known as inelastic collision. Practically, this is what happens. And in any ideal situation, entire deformational energy is given back to the blocks. There is absolutely no loss of energy. That kind of collision ends at stage 5, which is known as perfectly elastic collision. In this example, this is perfectly elastic collision because we have considered ideal spring. So we did not consider the mass of the spring. We have idealized the situation. That's why we are able to come till stage 5. But practically speaking, perfectly elastic collision is not possible. There is certain amount of energy lost in the process of collision. So 3 types of collision: perfectly elastic, inelastic, perfectly inelastic. So this is all about the collision theory. If you have any questions or suggestions, you can always use the comment section to interact with me. I'll be more than happy to respond and answer your questions. This is Vikram Dachepally signing off. Namaste.